All right, so Chevrolet Camaro, one of the most fun GT4 cars, often asked, how do you set this up? How do you set up a GT4? Well, it's quite simple. So we're going to build one from the default aggressive for this particular car, and this will pretty much work more than likely anywhere. So we'll start with the default aggressive. Obviously the PSIs, they're going to be track and temperature specific, so don't worry about that. Tow, easy, none of it. Lots of minus at the front. At the rear, let's also reduce it to 0.0 point 0. If you're particularly struggling with the car on exit, or if you want a bit more of a controlled rear, maybe add a bit more, but you want it as 0 for that slip. Camber as well, let's get all of it front, all of it rear, so maximum tire shredding. We're carrying a lot of cheeseburgers in this car, so we need all the rotation we can possibly get. For electronics, I'd keep ABS at 2. For TC, this is a bit of a personal choice. So 1, if you are happy controlling to the rear of the car, sliding all over the place. 2, if you want a more balanced and safer ride with the car. It can depend as well, depending on what sort of track where you are. I definitely wouldn't use like 1 at Suzuka, for example. It's just a very slippy track, same as Indianapolis. Brakes as well, use 2 for the pretty much all scenarios here in the Camaro. Even on qualifying runs, I'll use 2 instead of 1. For mechanical grip, so we're going to start with anti-roll bars here, and there's a bit of a theme with not only this Camaro but a lot of the GT4s. Slam the front down, raise the rear up. We're going to do the same thing with the wheel rate here. Add very high or very stiff rear springs. I don't think you can. No, we're not going to bother with doing any of the bump stops. We can't do the range, so the range is static. Steer ratio, if you'd like a bit more, I guess, responsiveness, then we can lower the ratio. Otherwise, I think 15 is more than enough in this car. For the brake bias, though, I'd probably bring it down to something like 54. If you particularly want this to start overtaking itself in braking zones, bring it down to 53, maybe down to 52, but you are going to induce a lot of crazy behavior in the braking zones. For the preload differential, bring that up to 53. For the preload differential, it's again personal preference. I think I can have this anywhere between 60 and 100, depending on the track. Remember, more preload, understeery, outer corners, less preload, oversteery, outer corners. So somewhere around there is like a set and forget for this car. For the dampers, this is going to be really easy. The rebound, we just want all of it like that. Done. And for aero, this is quite a bit of a personal preference depending on the wing. So the rear wing isn't very strong in GT4, so you don't go maximum wing equals great, I'm now glued to the floor. You're going to induce understeer with a wing this high. What I would recommend, though, is giving it the most rake you can, because that seems to be how you set up the majority of front engine cars, especially in GT4. And then the wing can be 2, it can be 3, it could even be 1 if you want a really loose rear. But if you were going to go 1, I'd probably lower the rake a little bit. I mean, you've got what, 7mm of travel in there, so it's hardly much going to make much difference. But I think 3 is a nice solid ground. For the ducts, I'd follow this pattern probably as well and have the front ducts a little bit open, just to make sure, because your brake bias is a little bit more towards the front. Don't try something stupid with something like this. The GT4 brakes won't really cope. So 4 and 3 is a nice ballpark, or 5 and 3 at the 5 at the front, and yeah, that's all there is to it.